Hello everyone, my name is Aarti and you're watching HW News. The 80 versus the 20. This is where it has come to in the most populous state of India, Uttar Pradesh. It is all one talks about, reacts to. What is this 80 versus 20? It was Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath who recently, during an interview to a TV news channel, spoke about 80 versus 20. During the interview, he was asked a question about Brahmin votes in Uttar Pradesh. To this, Yogi Adityanath said that the contest has moved much ahead. The fight is now 80 versus 20. The host of the session, that is this guy that you are seeing on your screen right now, went a step ahead and said, Owaisi says it is 19%. Yogi Adityanath then cut short the question by the host and said, 80% are those who are supporters of nationalism, good governance and development. Such people will vote for the BJP, and those who are against this and supporters of mafias and criminals, anti-farmer and village, such 15-20 people will take a different path. So in this 80 to 20 fight, it is the lotus that will show the way. It, however, did not take a genius to figure out where he was pointing to. Many pointed towards how the 80:20 ratio roughly matches the population percentage of Hindus and Muslims in the state. According to the 2011 census, Uttar Pradesh has 79.73% of Hindu population, whereas Muslim population is at 19.26%. Christians make up to 0.18% of the total population and Sikhs are at 0.32%. Now, Yogi Adityanath made the statement days after Model Code of Conduct was announced in the 5 poll-bound states. And first of all, our politicians have scant regard for the Election Commission guidelines and Model Code of Conduct. And by mistake, if an officer flags a Model Code of Conduct violation, dares to take action, we all know what happens next. I would like you all, whoever is watching this video, to go to the Election Commission of India's website and look for the Model Code of Conduct. You will see different pointers under general aspect, which is the first section. Now read what is the very first guideline, very first line where the Model Code of Conduct guidelines begin. It says, and I quote, no party or candidate shall include in any activity which may aggravate existing differences or create mutual hatred or cause tensions between different castes and communities, religious or linguistic. Yes, that was the first guideline. Now, the statement by CM Yogi Adityanath could amount to violation of this very first guideline when he talks about 80 versus 20. But again, the buck stops at Election Commission. Will it take cognizance? Will it convene an inquiry? Well, that's up to the Election Commission. But I see many blaming Yogi Adityanath for trying to communalize the campaign, for bringing religion into this and for trying to create a divide. They blame him. But I don't. And I'm going to explain why. But before that, we require your support to survive. In a world where misinformation and disinformation, propaganda has become mainstream, independent media is the savior of journalism. And if you don't want to fall for any of the above, then it becomes a necessity that you help the independent media to survive. So contribute in whatever way you can. Join our YouTube membership or subscribe to HW News. Go to our website www.hwnews.in/subscribe and you will find different plans of subscription. You can select the plan that you can afford. There is one-time payment option too. But please support us. Pay us. Now coming back to the topic. Why I said I will not blame Yogi Adityanath for saying it is a battle of 80 versus 20. And I have a simple reason for it. I feel, what else can you expect? What else was anyone in fact expecting? Were you expecting him to talk about jobs, about inflation, explain in detail about the economy of the state and the blueprint to achieve economic goals? Were you expecting him to accept the coronavirus mismanagement in the second wave and in fact lay down how he would focus on health infrastructure in future? Were you expecting him to talk about issues like hunger, issues like agriculture, farmers' low income, about education, about MSP. Why would he? These issues don't fetch any eyeballs. Neither do they have any takers. And this has been accepted in the past by another BJP CM. Why do you think politicians make statements like 80 versus 20? Do you think it is a mistake, a slip of tongue, an unintended statement in the flow of the conversation? I feel if you think so, you're wrong. These statements are made deliberately, they are made strategically and intentionally. And this is not the first time either. So why are some of us really surprised and slamming Mr. Yogi Adityanath for saying what he had said, what he continues to say, and what he will probably continue to say? This is what they precisely do in an election. From Ali and Bajrang Bali connotation in Karnataka, from calling Kerala Somalia, from references of Jinnah and Abbajan, were you expecting anything different from Yogi Adityanath? But what we really need to shift our focus to is the system that allowed such politicians, and not only Yogi Adityanath but many like him, to sustain and thrive long enough to sit on the constitutional position of the largest and most populous state of the country and talk about it. The system that does not even flinch when election commission guidelines are disregarded in the broad daylight. The system that can't prevent those criminalizing, communalizing, corrupting and polarizing the politics out of it. On the other hand, it provides enough room for them to be rewarded. As they rise in ranks, the system readily bends as they want it to. The state of Uttar Pradesh is facing issues of unemployment, crimes against women, the health infrastructure, inflation, rising prices of fuel, but none of this becomes the core election issue. What becomes the core election issue is 80 versus 20. There will be relentless debate on it, reactions coming in from other political parties, non-stop coverage of this. There will be spokesperson of the party justifying how the issue is actually 80 versus 20. All other real issues can take a back seat. 80 versus 20 is what we all are going to talk about. So what are we really complaining here that Mr. Yogi Adityanath made 80 versus 20 comment? Is it really that surprising? Do let us know what you think about this in the comment box below. For more news and updates, you can log on to www.hwnews.in. Also, a very small update before I go. The editorial will be back from next Monday. Due to certain reasons, certain personal reasons, Mr. Sujit Nair could not do his editorial for some days. But from Monday onwards, the editorial will be back. So please do tune in at 10 o'clock in the night and do watch editorial with Sujit Nair. Thank you so much.